On June 22, 1941, just hours before the greatest military disaster of the 20th century unfolded, a team of Soviet archaeologists under Stalin's direct orders moved a stone they should never have touched. Inscribed on that stone was, "Whosoever opens my tomb shall confront an enemy more fearsome than I." They thought it was just a legend, an Eastern superstition to scare away grave robbers. But when the limping body of the man who had drenched Asia in blood was pulled from the grave, a strange odor filled the tomb's air, the scent of death. And that very night, Hitler launched Operation Barbarossa. Coincidence, or the awakening of a demon that had been chained for centuries? Before we get to the curse, you must know who was lying in that grave. Tamerlane. He called himself the Sword of Islam and the Shadow of God, but the Western world knew him as one thing: the Butcher. He wasn't just a conqueror, he was an architect of terror in Delhi, Isfahan, and Baghdad. He didn't celebrate his victories with stone and mortar. He built minarets out of human skulls. Over 17 million people, 5% of the world's population at the time, were killed on his orders. The year is 1941. Hitler is camped at the Soviet borders, but Stalin, instead of focusing on defense, has developed a strange obsession: finding Tamerlane's tomb in Samarkand. Why? Some say Stalin was seeking Tamerlane's supernatural power to win the war. An archaeological team led by Mikhail Gerasimov was dispatched. Local people and the elders of Samarkand warned them. They showed ancient books, their pages worn and faded, stating that all of Asia would tremble if the conqueror were ever awakened. On June 19th, the air felt incredibly heavy and oppressive. As the scientists began carefully lifting the massive 3-ton jade stone, the ancient gears suddenly broke. A strange scent, something like a mixture of incense and embalming fluids, slowly filled the dark tomb. Gerasimov wrote in his notes that he had the distinct feeling someone was watching them. When they finally brought out Timur's skull, they realized he truly was lame and that his right arm was paralyzed, exactly as history recorded. But the scary part was inside the coffin. Another inscription that said, "When I rise from the dead, the world shall tremble." Just 48 hours later, without any declaration of war, 3 million Nazi soldiers invaded Soviet soil. Stalin, who had become extremely superstitious, gave a strange order when he heard the battlefield reports and their coincidence with the opening of the grave. He ordered that Timur's body be carefully taken by plane to the front lines, flown over the war zones, and then reburied with full Islamic rites. You won't believe this, but just a few days after the reburial of Timur, which happened in November of 1942, the Soviet forces went on to win the Battle of Stalingrad. A turning point that changed the fate of the World War. Was all this just one big mathematical coincidence? Or did Tamerlane truly hold a key that upset the balance of our world? Science says curses don't exist, but the history of Samarkand says otherwise. Today, his tomb is one of the most protected sites in Asia. But the question that remains is this: if Stalin hadn't reburied him, would we be speaking a different language today? What do you think? Is it possible that ancient powers still interfere in our history? Tell me in the comments whether you think this was a coincidence or a curse. And if you're interested in the dark narratives of Eastern history, subscribe, because the next video is about real ninjas who form the world's deadliest sect.